All right, of course, you're still on the decks today where we experience some issues in the nationally, where we have been array with a lot of challenges in the country. Part of these efforts by government agencies like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commissions, which has actually raised a special task force in all their zonal commands to enforce extant laws against currency mutilation and dollarizations of the economy. Joining me for the discussion, as I earlier said, is a Paul Omobe, who is the features editor of the Nigerian Tribune, joining me from Ibadan. Mr. Paul, if you can hear me clearly, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
All right, so give us an update on the steps by the directions of the EFCC in regard to setting up a committee in all zones. Would this actually put a stop to giving our currency a chance away from the US dollars?
Oh, well, the issues about the Naira are beyond what the EFCC is doing. Of course, what the EFCC is doing is quite commendable, and I laud them for that initiative. But then it will not change the fortunes of the Naira. The things that concern the Naira are basically economic, and using a law enforcement agency to pursue economic goals. And they're not even pursuing any economic goal in this initiative that they have done. We need to improve local production. We need to look and see how we can refine more of our crude oil, in-house, and probably begin to export the same way we are currently importing refined products. We too should begin to export refined products of crude oil. This is what will fetch us the needed foreign exchange and then change the fortunes of the Naira. These are the things that we should be looking at, not just using EFCC to pursue goals such as the current initiative that they've embarked on. That's my candid opinion.
All right. Many thanks for that contributions. Over to Niger State. On Monday, we heard the protests that rocked the Minna, the state capital. And now we're hearing that the state police command has arrested 25 persons for allegedly participating in the Monday street protest against the hunger and high cost of living over there in the state. Is this move illegally, and why the detentions and arrests of these 25 persons? Give us an update on that.
In Nigeria, we are practicing a democracy, or we are supposed to be practicing a democracy. And that democracy talks about the freedom of expression. And of course, you have the right to protest. To the best of my knowledge, that was a peaceful protest. I did not hear about many cars being burnt or houses being burnt. I didn't hear about anybody who was killed or anything. And so it beats my imagination that people should be arrested for protesting over a legitimate concern. You and I know what is going on in the country at the moment. We know the hardships that people are facing everywhere. It's from north to south. It's not a thing that is restricted to a particular section of society alone. Everybody is feeling the pains. And so if a group of people should go out and protest, about this concern, which is very legitimate, why should they be arrested? Why should we see these things as being politically motivated? Are there not genuine concerns being addressed there? So I think the police should be thorough in their work. Maybe they have more information than I do about that protest. But if that is the case, I just want them to be thorough in their investigations and not suppress the right of the Nigerian to embark on protests.
All right. You understand in 2020 how the issue of EndSARS protests actually started. So don't you feel the police and government are trying to reduce the pressure so that this will not escalate to other states? Because not just from Niger, we also heard story coming from Kano, where the governor has also stated the same thing clearly. And it maybe seems that it will be now a national move. Don't you feel that the police are trying to reduce the pressure on all of these as to regards to what happened 2020 EndSARS protests?
Do you know that people will simply get more angry when you try to suppress them in protest. Like I said, it was a peaceful protest, and there are rules concerning protests in Nigeria. You shouldn't oppress or suppress people who want to embark on a legitimate protest. That shouldn't be the case. If you talk about the NSAS, it was when there was a resistance, when there was force being used, as we saw, as just like what we saw at Lekki Tollgate. That was when there was an outbreak of violence. So there was no violence in the NSAS protests all through the country until what happened in Lekki Tollgate happened. So by the time you begin to introduce this kind of means of dealing with protests, you are just infuriating the people more. I don't think that's the right way to go. Allow people to express themselves in a peaceful manner, and most importantly, deal with the issues, deal with what they're concerned about. Because
the issues must be dealt with. Yeah, I agree with you. The issues must be dealt with, because there's a popular saying that an hungry man is actually an angry man. So government must rise to the occasion to try to fix up, the issues before them, before pursuing the citizens and arresting and detaining them. Let's go over to Lagos court yesterday. The presiding judge, Justice Ambrose, ordered the Nigerian government to fix the price of milk, flour, salt, and other motor vehicles and their spare part, including the petroleum product, which includes the diesel, the petrol motor spirit. And one is also wondering, government of the day seems to not to obey court orders, and they have given the government 7 days. Do you feel government will react to this regarding to what is actually happening in the country due to the cost of living all over the place?
If I understand that judgment correctly, it's talking about giving a fixed price to commodities. Okay, so what do you do when the market forces are against your fixed price? That means they are trying to introduce subsidies, isn't it? If you want the fuel price to stay at a particular figure, say 600 naira, and the cost of importation has gone way beyond that, what do you now do to keep it at that price? You have to introduce subsidies, because people must be paid for services, products rent, product supply. So are we saying that the government is going to introduce subsidies on fuel and all those other items that they mentioned? Is it practical? So I am in doubt of the practicality of that judgment. It's a perhaps it was born out of lofty desires, but then that is not the way to go. There are fundamental issues that need to be dealt with, and a quick fix, a seeming quick fix like issuing a judgment, is not the way to go. It's just like saying that a child who is not doing well, you just say that if you don't do well, I will cane you next time. You issue a threat. That threat in itself doesn't make the child better in his work. You need to find out what happened to this child. Why did he fail? Okay, what can we do to help this child? What extra lessons can we put in? It's not a threat or an ultimatum. If you don't pass by, those things in themselves don't change anything. We should look beyond these shallow approaches to fixing our problems, to looking at what's really going on and facing it directly. That's my take on that issue.
All right. While I agree with you, don't you also look at the aspect of the fact that the oil marketers regarding the petroleum products? You understand that petroleum products is really what is putting Nigerians in this condition. The costs of things in the market has increased because a market woman who imports goods from this other particular state to this other state has actually paid a whole lot of money, and this has affected the cost of price. So we may agree that the petroleum product is actually on the high side. And it seems the Oil Marketers Association or the oil marketers are doing business with Nigerians, holding product. If NNPCC are actually selling at the official price of 617, you understand that some affiliations are selling even at 700, 790, 670, and 690, and all of that. Don't you feel that this move is also to curtail, some wrong moves by oil marketers to extort Nigerians?
we have we should talk to the regulators. You understand that there are regulators in the I think we call that the downstream sector who should monitor these things. When subsidy was removed, the government was looking at the situation where the prices are actually cost reflective, as in prices are not being determined by the state, but actually, excuse me, by market forces. So, if with the prevailing market forces, you have to sell at a different price based on your location. For example, you have to transport fuel up north, and your cost of transportation increases the price of fuel from what is south is sold down south. Then, by all means, it has to be that way. While I agree that the fuel prices are high, any attempt to fix the price means you are calling for a reintroduction of petroleum subsidies. And on different forums and different times, we have known that the petroleum subsidy is just another drain pipe for the for funds, for government funds. So it is not, again, like I said, it's not for us to look for quick fix, like just fix the price and everything. How do you fix it? Not fixing the price. I will not going to that. This is like I said, one that needs to be looked into. Why should there be a judgment to get it there? Well, refineries working, that would make more sense to me than saying that just I think we should be more intellectual, which is, more than just these arbitrary judgments and issues in the court.
All right. Many thanks for your take on that. Over to Kaduna State, the governor of Kaduna, Obasanya, says that poverty, unemployment, hopelessness, and lack of education are the major reasons insecurity is actually festering in the northwestern part of the country. That is coming from the governor, APC governor of Kaduna State. And you begin to ask questions acknowledging the fact that poverty, unemployment has actually, and hopelessness has been the issue, and the lack of education. And the government have been in the power for some years in that state, and you also understand the implications of that. Don't you feel that government must begin to do their job away from actually pushing blame? Because government was to fix the problems, not citizens, and of course not just acknowledging them, but swinging to actions and providing solutions. That's the essence of government.
I agree with you 100%. The issues that he mentioned that he said that cause of security are not beyond what the government is able to do. To handle, they are in a good position to take care of every one of the things that he mentioned. And so, what has his party done about this in the how many years that they've been in power in that state? What have they done? That's the question that should be asked. To address those issues that you said that he claimed to be the cause of insecurity. But maybe he's referring to in his state. Let me say that since it's a governor, he should be talking about what is going on in his state. But we do know that the issues, the reasons why there have been so many security breaches have gone beyond those factors that he mentioned. We've talked about foreign elements coming into the country, wreaking havoc on villages. We heard of reprisal attacks and all that's taking place. We heard about how issues going on. I do not think that you could limit those instances of those security breaches to poverty. There's an agenda, and I know that the security forces are aware of these things, and my prayer is that one day the police will follow the issues, not just the one issue. Yes, the could be doing security, but then there are more what we like to call it now, stronger reasons why there's insecurity and political with it.
Oh, all right. Many thanks, Paul, for joining us all the way from Ibadan, who is a feature editor with the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Well, we appreciate your time this evening for joining us on the decks, and we hope to see you subsequently. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll go on a short break right now, and once we return, we're speaking with the legislative head to Senator in the National Assembly on the decks this evening. Do stay with us, don't go away. That guy network bad. All right, many thanks for still staying with us on the decks where we are exploring issues while we're still trying to establish a connection with the legislative head to a senator in the National Assembly to give us an update regarding the Senate summoning the security chiefs and the postponement of the meeting with the security chiefs to next week Tuesday to give us more deep knowledge on what actually happened. Let's also take a look at ECOWAS interventions. Once again, today they held a meeting regarding the signal where they have received that Senegal is also perceiving some political crisis where the current president, whose tenure will be lapsing on April, has postponed the earlier date for the election. And of course, our citizens are taken to the streets of Senegal and demonstrated their unpleasant point towards this direction. And this has actually called a meeting where the regional bloc has actually called for a meeting to see how they can actually advise Senegal. Don't forget, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali has actually withdrawn their membership with ECOWAS, and it's given ECOWAS much concern to see to the fact that Senegal, the peace and is being restored and democracy is being civilized in Senegal, which is a major core responsibility of ECOWAS. All of these are issues that will be interacting with the legislative. Samuel Udoma will be joining us sooner to make some analysis towards this point and issues in the nations and, of course, in ECOWAS. Do stay with us. We'll be right back shortly after this break. All right, many thanks for still staying with us on the decks where we are exploring some major issues in the nation. And of course, also looking at what is taking place at Senegal, where ECOWAS actually summoned a meeting today to discuss the way forward to stabilize the political crisis in Senegal. Joining me for another phase of discussion is Samuel Udoma, who is the legislative head to the senator representing Senegal District in the Akwa Ibom State at the National Assembly. Good to have you join us, Samuel Udoma.
Yes, thank you so very much.
All right. Many thanks for staying.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, take a look. Give us an update. The Senate has actually postponed the meeting with the security chiefs due to the issues of insecurity in the country to next week, Tuesday. Give us an update on what actually happened at the plenary.
Okay, the Senate resumed plenary on Tuesday after they had taken a break to allow the rerun, to allow election for some of the rerun seats that we had in for the National Assembly. And then the resumption of the plenary coincided with what they were supposed to have an interface with the security chiefs of the country, to compare notes on the on the security situation as we are facing in the country right now. But unfortunately, some of the security chiefs were not present. Um, the chief of um, the chief of army staff, Lieutenant General T. A. Labaja, was there. The chief of naval staff was there. The chief of air staff was there. The inspector general of police was there. But then the Senate, in its wisdom, said they needed a more comprehensive security apparatus to be available. So they had to shift the meeting till next Tuesday, 13th, so that they can have the Director General National Intelligence Agency. They could also have the Minister of Defense, the Minister of State for Defense, and then even the Minister of Interior and every other relevant person within the security apparatus of the country. So that was what happened. Some of the security chiefs were there, but some were not there. So the Senate said, instead of us having, disjointed meeting this one and then the meeting this one the next week, let us shift the meeting up to by a week, and then have all of them, available. So that was what happened.
All right, many thanks for the updates. Let's head straight to issues, political crisis in Senegal. Today, ECOWAS actually held a meeting regarding the political, perceived political crisis, I must say, where the current president will be meant to exit office on April. But right now, it seems they have cancelled the elections that was to take place on the 25th or thereabouts. Some citizens are reacting and protesting, and it gives many people concern because of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger are out already from the ECOWAS bloc. And many people are saying that if care is not being taken and if you not well manage it, we might actually see the same thing at Senegal. What do you think of this?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that we had to experience what we had in Senegal. At the time, the region, and the continent is facing, a whole lot of leadership crisis. And at that time, where we are trying to consolidate on our democracy, what transpired in Senegal was quite unfortunate, because you would have expected that as a democratically elected President Macky Sall should have followed the constitution and then allowed elections to take place. Having to cancel elections barely 2 weeks to the proposed date of the election will not all go well with any nation, that actually seeks some level of political stability. And then, of course, political stability will not come if the people don't feel that the right things are done. And it's quite unfortunate that this is also happening in West Africa, of course, where we are having a whole lot of, crisis concerning ECOWAS. Some of the countries are leaving ECOWAS. Some are saying they no longer want to be ECOWAS. And then there is also the volatility of military takeovers, as you have seen in Mali, in Niger. And everybody has been trying to avoid, a repeat of this kind of scenario. But it's quite unfortunate that Senegal the Senegalese president had to toe that line. It's a line of dishonor. If you ask me, I would have expected him to, emulate what a fellow West African president, the president of Liberia, Joshua Bongwe, did, who considered defeat to an even older person. And just to ensure that the will of the people prevail, that democracy gets to be planted, gets sustained, democracy gets to grow. That is the kind of expectations that we have, or that we had, but unfortunately, that was not to be. So it's quite unfortunate. It's quite regrettable. And I will appeal to the president of Senegal to see all he can do to ensure that the elections are refixed within the next possible time, so that the people can have the opportunity to go there and exercise their civil franchise.
All right. All right, many thanks. Let's take a look at this other aspect. It seems citizens of Niger currently are happy being under the military regime or military intervention away from democracy. You agree with me that democracy, the dividends of democracy is to be a good one. But many African leaders, the corruption that is rocking the continent is actually making citizens to wonder if military interventions may be better than the democracy. Don't you feel that this is also something of a concern, to African leaders to rise up in addressing the menace of the continent, because corruption is actually hitting deep into the continent, even with our blessed resources?
Well, like I've always maintained, is Africa is at the crossroads. Africa is at the crossroads of its political journey. The Odyssey has not been very smooth, regrettably. You see, citizens saying they are happy with the military rule in Niger, they are happy with the military rule in Mali. It's just a result of lack of option, and the wrong precedence that has been set by the democratically elected leaders. I Africa's problem has been very endemic, and key among these problems, or at the base, at the foundation of this problem, is corruption. At the foundation of this problem is corruption. Where democratically elected leaders are only Democrats, maybe because of their attires they are wearing, but by actions, they are not pursuing democratic ideals. High level corruption cases marring the entire continent. It sets a very bad precedent. It gives a very good excuse for military interventions, as we have seen in Mali and in Niger. And so it will take a very conscious leadership. It will take a very sincere leadership on the continent to ensure that the people have these things are retraced. The people have the trust back on these leaders who were elected democratically. Where that is not sustained, where that is not feasible, you realize that we'll still continue to have these, time to time interventions by the military. And the people will have no choice. The people will have just no choice than to align with what they feel is the chopping board, chopping board situation, than to align with what they feel or the people they feel will come and erode corruption out of the system. Corruption has eaten deep, quite deep, into the fabrics of our politics, and it is quite unfortunate, as you are seeing, where we build stronger individuals rather than stronger institutions. If we had stronger institutions, there is no way a president will get up to try to subvert the constitution that has already been there. But you see, Africa is building stronger men instead of building stronger institutions. And until we begin to build stronger institutions, we will continue to face these kind of scenarios. We will continue to face these kind of interventions. So it is high time African countries rose up, to embrace true democracy, true leadership, by building and upholding the tenets of stronger institutions rather than building stronger personalities. Once we have stronger institutions, those institutions will always, always override whatever individual intentions that some of these politicians may have.
To Senegal. Let us just take a look at yesterday. You were a fan of Super Eagles, and yesterday the Super Eagles are totally qualified for the finals of the AFCON. Armed forces are now coming to say that they demand the same similar support, that are actually given to our Super Eagles to them, so that they can actually deal with the issues of insecurity. Yesterday, you will understand that the whole Nigeria were happy. There was no issues of tribe, no issues of religion. Do you feel that if this also is being, taken to issues of insecurity, we can actually address it, because it's also worrisome right now?
Well, I was quite happy yesterday, not just myself, but a generality of Nigerians with the outing of the Super Eagles. Football is a uniting factor, and football has a way of bringing unity, happiness to Nigerians. Nigerians see football as an alternative to some of the negative, misconceptions, negative feelings, negative vibes they might be having about the country. And of course, in as much as football is sports and military is military coming out to say they want the kind of support that Nigerians give to Super Eagles, I think is a bit of a mistake because the military is already strategized to perform their duties. And those duties include, but not limited to, protecting the territorial sovereignty of the country, and of course, life and properties of the citizenry. That is their major duty. If they say they want more enlistment, they want to increase the number of their recruits, they want to expand their base, that is quite understandable. That is quite understandable because in an ideal situation, we should have a society where at least just about 10 citizens are under the care of one policeman. We should have that kind of ratio. But where you go to an entire community and you don't even see even a police station, and then you're coming to tell the people to give you the kind of support. If they give you the kind of support, are you going to replicate the confidence reposed in you, just as Super Eagles replicated the confidence reposed in them by Nigerians? Are you going to do that? So you see that it boils down to what I always think the institutionalized distrust that exists between most agencies in Nigeria and the Nigerian people. You know, the images of some of our security agencies have been battered by their ineptitude and the sheer amount of fisticuffs that they have had to have with the citizens. We still recall fresh in our memories the issues of NSAS. We still recall fresh in our memories the issues of police brutality, army brutality. Where we are supposed to have a seamless relationship between the military and the citizens, we are not having that until the military enhances the relationship between themselves and the citizens. They cannot expect the level of support that Nigerians give to the Super Eagles. It is just not comparable. They have to be up to their duties. They have to be up to their games. They have to exterminate terrorism. They have to exterminate insecurity.
All right.
Absolutely out of the system.
All right. Let me just take this last one before we can actually let you be. Federal High Court has ordered the federal government, has given federal government 7 days to address issues of cost of prices of commodities in the market. Do you feel that this will be workable, minding the current situation that we are? Would the federal government swing into actions immediately?
Well, I think the federal government made a very good move because every Nigerian has been worried about the high cost of products, high cost of commodities in the market. It is untenable. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that you go to the market to buy rice at 15 naira today. You go back there tomorrow to buy the same rice, and or they will tell you that the rice is now 150 naira, not even 100 naira, not even 60 naira, not even 70 naira. You cannot be having 200% increase in inflation, 200%, inflation rates, and then you expect the people to be happy. So it is high time something was done. And I think the federal government and the federal high court, federal high court giving the federal government that ultimatum is a step in the right direction. Because government must show empathy to the citizenship. Government must show empathy to the people. There has been so much depression in the country due to the high cost of commodities, and this has to be arrested as soon as possible. There's a need for this to be arrested as soon as possible, so that Nigerians can begin to have value for their money. How do you expect the people who are earning quite so low to still compete in the market where they have to buy things at very high cost?
Many thanks, Samuel Udoma, for your contributions on the decks today. We hope to see you, and of course to get more feedbacks on the proceedings that will be taking place next week Tuesday regarding the security chiefs meeting with the members of the National Assembly. Many thanks, Samuel Udoma, legislative head from Akwa Ibom State. Thanks for joining us today on the decks. We do appreciate.
Thank you so much.
All right. We had earlier told you that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commissions actually raised a special task force to deal with the issues of currency mutilations and the dollarizations of the economy. This is a step in the right direction, and as actually earlier commended by Paul, editor of the Nigeria Tribune newspaper. And from the Niger State, we also informed you that 35 persons have been arrested by the police command for allegedly participating in the Monday's street protest against the hunger and high cost of living in Mina, the state capital. And the Senate also says that they have postponed the meeting with the security chiefs to next week, Tuesday. This is actually contained in the message that took place yesterday, Wednesday, after the plenary meeting with the Senate president and other security chiefs that they were there. And of course, we also informed you that the presiding judge, Justice Lewis, has ordered the Nigerian government to fix the price of commodities with immediate effect within 7 days jurisdiction. And this has also been the analysis for today. The federal government must be able to react to all of these issues that the cost of living is posing to Nigerians and the high cost of commodities in the market. And the governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, has also said that poverty, unemployment, homelessness are the issues that actually skyrocketing insecurity in the northwest part of the country. These have been the discussions on today's edition of the Dex, and of course I do appreciate my guests who joined virtually for their contributions, and I hope to see you again tomorrow to take a look at some big story regarding the state of the nation and the region and the world. My name remains Edika Michael, and it was good to have you join us on the show today. Goodbye, and do keep watching Global Television News.